Takkar is a year-long test series program with 146 tests. This program is especially designed for UPSC CSE Prelims and Mains exam. It has 4 phases. Phase 1, pre-cum-mains test. In Phase 2, we conduct tests exclusively for the Prelims exam. And in Phase 3, we will conduct tests for Mains exam. And in Phase 4, we will help you to prepare for interview through interview guidance program. So why to wait? You can enroll for it now.
You may have started reading Polity. No. Especially NCERTs. Are you reading NCERTs? So it is important, as we have told, that you read it and gradually you will start giving every day one question for your answer writing practice. That will also show that how you are able to understand the things, those basic aspects. So then now, so far we were talking about background. This background, when you talk, so it has its own way to talk. Now we have started talking the pure aspect of polity, which we start with, let's say, the preamble. Any topic you take, in polity it has 2 dimensions. One, it will have legal dimension, not necessarily to tell legal dimension, but basically it is more of talking something related to the conceptual aspect of that, the significance, if you talk in terms of, let's see, what exactly it means, let's say, and its interpretation, and like say the way we are writing, whether it is part of the constitution, can it be amended? Although you may be familiar with that, you may be knowing that does not matter. So this we say as legalistic, or you can say technical aspect, the technical side of the topic, and then call it is substantial side of the topic. Substantial is that what is the significance of preamble, discuss the significance of preamble, how it helps in governance, or how it is related to governance. A very simple question it can be. Already it has been asked, if you see 2013 before. 2013 before, often a question was asked, discuss the significance of preamble. This 2013 onwards, what they have asked, this 2013 onwards, they have asked the 3 adjectives. The 3 adjectives, the term they used, I guess, socialist, secular, like this, and this, the 3 term, exactly I do not know which 3 term they asked, but they use the 3 terms of the preamble, and they ask that the 3 adjectives in preamble, what is the meaning and significance? That is how the question asked. Someone will post it here, I can read it, or the I guess still analysis may not have been given because they are updating it, so that's why. So that question they have asked, and yes, have you got this paper? See in preamble what is asked. What are those 3 adjectives? The 3 adjectives to republic: socialist, secular, and democratic. A sovereign, socialist, and secular. Yes, 4 adjectives. Yes. So there are 4 adjectives, you can say. So that is how they were asking. You have to discuss on that. There is one more question asked. No. Only one. No. There is one more question. It is related to socialist nature. Socialist nature and changes 90s onwards. That question was asked. Then third question is not necessarily related to this paper, secular. Right. Or they ask comparison how France can learn from Indian secularism. No. Not what India can learn from France secularism. What France can learn from Indian secularism, isn't it? So he demanded a bit broader understanding of secularism. Yes, largely we know what we can learn from them. But this was the first question they posed other way around, as if French students are writing answers. Anyhow, so that way we'll find this. So that is how UPSC, let's say. There are 4 questions basically. We remember the questions. They may have given here and there, not exactly in that. So one question was a technical question. If you see the nature of questions so far, take question. One is, let's say they have asked related to adjectives to republic. This second they have asked, let's say socialist nature, and linking to, let's say that it is new economic 19, how thereafter there is a change in nature of our state. Are we still socialist? That aspect somewhere it may be given. The next question is, let's say this called secularism, and then how, let's say that France can learn from India. This. So still a question can be asked, expected one. That expected is related to governance. Since governance has been added in this, let's say, syllabus later on, that's why it can be, let's say, governance can be linked to preamble and a question can be asked. Right. This. So that way we say this. So that is related to mains oriented. Mains demand a somehow broader understanding. Now prelims related question can be framed this. This is how. There can be prelims oriented question, or it is more technical question. The preamble is source of power. Preamble is not source of power. Isn't it? This for the government. So preamble becomes basis for interpretation of law by judiciary. This, isn't it? And preamble can be amended. 4 options. Which one is incorrect? Anyhow. So this consider as technical aspect. Before we take, someone was asking a question. Last year they asked a question related to constitution. What is the chief objective of constitution? No. This year they asked a prelim question. In 2023, the chief objective of constitution. What is the chief objective of constitution? Note, what were the 4 options? Prelims question, 2023. Yes, one option is limited government. One option is social justice. Type? No. It was similar to social justice. Other option? This is how limit powers of the government. Right. The 2 options you did. Socio-economic welfare. What are the other 2 options? Someone asked, so I just equality before law. Right. So Have you seen that question? What? Or next? Yes, yes. Which one is correct? By the way, अभी तक तो आपको पता चल ही गया होगा. No. Yes, basically people may have, they may have, let's say that doubts related to social justice part and limited government part. And let's say that they have framed in such a fashion so that you could have understood basically when we'll take this constitutionalism. We do not teach there when constitution is framed that time because your knowledge is still not developed in field of constitution. So you will not understand constitutionalism. So we generally teach while teaching fundamental rights. So then you will understand. The day constitution is written, it limits the power of the government. And you know what we told about US? They wanted to have a written constitution to guarantee that the government is not arbitrary. Arbitrary if government is not, you want to define the power of government. The main aim of constitution is first to define the power of government. And when it defines the power, it limits the power. This other things are secondary. Other things are secondary. Why? The creation of political offices, koi zaruri nahi. It's not necessary that you will write everything in the constitution to create political offices. In fact, even we have written constitution, but all political offices are not mentioned in constitution. Secretariat's not mentioned. Prime Minister office not mentioned. So all offices will not be mentioned. So that is how it is not, let's say that we consider relevant. And then if you say this social justice, it is not necessary to write a constitution for social justice. It can be its own characteristics, but it cannot be the ultimate aim of the constitution. This, and let's say that similarly determining the objectives. Just for objective you cannot have constitution, like preamble, let's say that. The preamble decides the objective, but for preamble you have not written constitution. And it is not necessary that you will have preamble in constitution because it may not be considered as a very important aspect of constitution. So ultimately it was, let's say that we called limits the power of government. Now let's say that if you see prelims questions, what it is demanding, it is not factual. It is not very difficult. No, but it is challenging, which basically demands that you should not have knowledge, you should have understanding of polity. This, you should not only know constitution, you should understand constitution. And it is a question where, let's say that generally that way it is very difficult to frame question in that way. No? This, that is how we can consider what UPSC is. Anyhow, so let's take this when we are supposed to talk preamble. So this is how we can say this. Anyhow, it has some, let's say that, components, let's say. We can divide preamble in different components. It starts with we the people. One component. Then it talks about basically nature of a state. Yes. In terms of So basically, if you talk, it has 5 such components. Sorry. So it is nature of state, it is objectives. So it becomes means, it becomes ends. Yes. So preamble we can describe in this fashion. Preamble is talking both. It is about ideals of the state, which you can consider a state is supposed to be a sovereign socialist democratic republic, and that state should try to achieve. That state should try to achieve such objectives. Right? Means we want to achieve growth, development in democratic manner, not in a monarchical manner. That's why we will tell you later on, growth तो UAE में भी होता है, right? But we are a democratic country. Yes. So a state which is this sovereign socialist democratic republic means these are also objectives because we were not, let's say, democratic and let's say socialist. So they can also be considered, but in broader sense, we can take it as a means a state should change itself to become democratic and socialist, secular, and at the same time it should achieve such objectives by ensuring citizens. Means a particular way we want, a state should achieve in a particular way, not in any way. Right? We want to achieve the objectives not in any way, but in a particular way. And that particular way is related to called this socialist democratic republic way. That is the, let's say, that key difference we can consider. So it is about aims and ideals which decide means and ends of the state. This, which have been told by different persons like horoscope, the soul of the constitution, isn't it? So introduction of constitution. So different, let's say, persons will give you, if you read any book, let's say even Lakshmikant, so it is written in that. So who says about horoscope? K. M. Munshi says. No. It is horoscope of the constitution. This we can consider. So different legal experts have given their view on this preamble. Now let's say that they will have, since they have been borrowed from different sources, so we have to see that how they have been borrowed, from which sources they have been taken. Basically, when we say we the people, it comes basically from the idea of, let's say, general will. It is given by Rousseau talks about this. Now, if you take that, it is liberty, equality, and fraternity. It has been taken from French Revolution. This, and if you take this, it will be taken from as a liberal principle. No. And socialist, if you take, so largely it is, let's say, that somehow we can tell Marxian, but not in that way. Since we have to, गांधी से भी हम relate नहीं कर सकते, so communist भी नहीं लिख सकते, तो आसान तरीका है Marxian, although it is not Marxian, but this we can consider. Justice is also from this. It is a liberal principle. This we can consider. So that is what we can say. Plus, originally, let's say that we did not have, we have added by 42nd Amendment. No. So it adds socialist, right, secular, and unity, integrity. This, it has been once amended. By itself, it is clear it can be amended. No. So this we can consider. So let's write significant, means a bit of introductory aspect. Then we'll talk one by one other things. So the preamble represents aims and ideals of the state. The preamble represents aims and ideals of the state. Ideals of the state. Means and ends of the state. Means and ends of the state. It is considered an essential part of Constitution. It is considered an essential part of Constitution. Constitution, which first defines the nature of the state. First defines the nature of the state. Second, sets objectives of the state. Sets objectives of the state. Next, adopts Constitution in the name of people. Adopts Constitution in the name of people. Constitution in the name of people. Change paragraph. Therefore, it guides the state. It guides the state that first, how it should become democratic, socialist, republic, secular, and by maintaining such nature, it should achieve liberal democratic objectives for people by ensuring justice, liberty, and equality. Justice, liberty, and equality. It has, in broad sense, 5 major components. It has, in broad sense, 5 major components. First, we the people of India. 5 major components. First, we the people of India. We the people of India. It means people are important. People are important. Sovereignty lies in the hand of people. Sovereignty lies in the hand of people. And people are master. People are must. People are must. Note, NOT, note. When Constitution was being adopted, there were proposals. That it should be adopted in the name of God or Mahatma Gandhi. But there was lack of consensus, and such ideas were rejected. Hence, we the people of India represents a democratic nature of constitution. That is how you should understand. So as we told in past that there was, let's say, proposal. One means it was proposed that let's introduce God. We should adopt in the name of God. But if you mention God, it becomes something religious, let's say. It is a sort of also imposition. And which God? Isn't it? Then Mahatma Gandhi, let's say that. We should mention Mahatma Gandhi. That was also, let's say. So, framers of the constitution agreed to have, let's say, Mahatma Gandhi as father of nation, but not father of constitution. Means it should not be adopted in constitution because it will narrow, let's say that. In fact, originally you should also know that it was proposed that we should have socialist. It was in original draft socialist, but it was also not adopted. Which will come, then we'll talk on this aspect. That is how we the people, let's say that. I will keep speaking you henceforth sarcastically. We the people mein aata kaun hai. This is how it is. We the people is a very sacred thing. It respects each and every person of our country, especially citizen. But when that each and every citizen, in the name of this caste, that caste, in the name of this religion, that religion, in the name of this region and that region, is not respected, it is disrespect to the idea of we the people of India. This you should know. And we are also very, let's say that good. You can say we are the best, especially our administration and government, in disrespecting people. This. Like when a drug addict is arrested, you want to, let's say that treat him very badly, beat him. When any person has committed offense, you beat him like, first you beat, then you talk. This is how. Similarly, let's say when people have met accident, etc., and then they have to be given ex gratia help. There also, let's say, first they have to pay bribe, and then they will have to get ex gratia help. This same thing, let's say, other area gradually will find that. Then sedition law, defamation law, and all these, let's say, that laws which are misused arbitrarily, investigating agencies, you know that. This. So, any person, when the person is not respected, because a country has to respect. What is we the people of India? You have to protect, you have to preserve each and every person. And that is how a state has responsibility. Now you can ask that, then does it mean anyone who has committed offense should be not punished? Yes, punished. But ultimately, let's say, why you punish people? Should we punish to kill? Right. Punish to reform. Right. This is how. Because parents never give up hope to reform their children. This, the state is like parent. People are like children. That is how we the people of India. This, that is what the idea, if you talk, general will, we the people of India, which was also one such important factor for French Revolution. I am the state, we are the people. This, the I am the state idea represents monarchical system, absolute power. And against I am the state came, we are the people. This, that is how we will talk one day when we will talk you about constitution and constitutionalism. This, the idea which comes like this. So that way we can see. In fact, that is how we the people of India means state should respect its people, do not misbehave unnecessarily, and it should protect and preserve them. After all, they are your people. How will understand the difference? Generally, we give example. You can watch. There is a video. In that video, let's say in US, police is chasing one car. That car is by any criminal, let's say. They may have committed any offense. And hence, the car is being chased and there are 5 police cars chasing one bad car. And they chase in such a way that they just narrow down so that that car wala should not get any passage to, let's say, just for a way out. Then narrow down his, let's say, that road and then force him to stop on one side of the road. This, once the car stops, then they talk through their mic to surrender, come out of the car. Let's say person surrenders, comes out the car. Then they say kneel down, he kneels down. Then they go and tie his hand and take that person in custody. This, how it happen in our country? First, they will not chase him. Shooting him. Wherever in the range of gun, shoot him. And we will say that while chasing, he was running away, we shot him. That is how Hyderabad encounter. That is how encounters happen, you know that. Now, once he is, let's say, he surrenders, suppose, by the way, he is still alive and he surrenders. Then police will go and first beat him. To release all their grudges. साले भाग रहे थे इतने देर से परेशान कर रहे हो. And then let's say, sorry to say, they will beat him first. Then they will talk. This. And वहां तो जो beat करेंगे वो तो अलग है. They will beat in the jail, let's say, custody. This, that is called torture. This. And then they will be taken to, let's say, court. Why police in there? It is a respect to their citizen. Yes. You respect each and every citizen. A citizen may be misguided. A citizen may be, let's say that he may have become spoiled the way children become. Children in family, any such family, they become spoiled. No? They may not act as per parents, what they want. But still parents do not behave, you know that. Similarly, it is the state, because each and every citizen is yours, citizen, let's say that. You should have ability to reform them rather than torture them, right? Beat them. That is how the rest are. That is how it should be ideally by a state. That is how I mean by we the people of India. This you should know that. Same thing, you care, we the people, children, those who are growing uneducated. Do you respect your people? Because when they grow uneducated, you know what will happen? Their challenges in life, the state must care. That is how we can say this. So, what we have written? Now, before that, what you have written? There are 5 components. First, we have written V. Yes, let's write next. Second, nature of state. Nature of state. Right. Preamble defines the nature of state. Preamble defines the nature of state. State. First, sovereign. It means, let's say that state is independent. Independent to make any law. State is independent to make any law. It does not have any external obligation. It does not have any external obligation. It is a modern liberal concept. It is a modern liberal concept. Liberal concept which has its root in Westphalian Treaty 1648. Which has its root in Westphalian Treaty 1648, in which it was stated that a state is sovereign to make law. And however, sovereignty this sovereignty ultimately lies with people. Also known as popular sovereignty. So it is simple, isn't it? You understand it, sovereign concept. State is independent and state can make any such law. It does not have any external obligation. Right. But can we say to some extent, just to broaden your mind, can we say that in the era of, let's say, globalization, there is global interdependence? There is global interdependence. Can we say that a bit of sovereignty has been compromised? So, sovereignty, let's say that has been compromised because nowadays you have also external obligation. This external obligation. What external obligation we have? So Universal Declaration of Human Rights, you can say. This free trade, this are human rights nowadays we have created. Right. G20 and global regulation. It's financial regulation. It is just for your information, that just for your knowledge we are talking. You should know it. At times it comes in debate, let's say, because you know that Western countries have forced developing countries at times to adopt free market. Many a time we are not willing to adopt free market, and tariff etc. we have reduced. Doha development round you will study, in that you will find this WTO and Doha development round, and let's say that special safeguard measures which India suggested. Later on you will know come to. So basically, let's see, to some extent because of globalization, sovereignty has become, let's say, more interdependent. At the same time, still a country is independent to make law. Even if there is a compromise, but this compromise is for the sake of betterment of both the country as well as world. It is for the sake of betterment of a country as well as world. At the same time, let's say, country is still sovereign. For instance, we will teach when towards end of our this class, we will teach you human rights. So there, let's say that we will teach you कि human rights के मामले में कोई भी बोल सकता है किसी भी country के लिए. This is so. And a country will not tell कि ये इसका internal मामला है. Do you know this? Yes, you can speak. वो तो स्टेट बोलेगा ही कि आप, बट वो इंटरनल मैटर नहीं बोलेगा. वो कहे बोलेगा कि यू कैन नॉट लेट्स से दैट की टॉक दिस एंड दैट, बट ह्यूमन राइट्स गो बियॉन्ड बाउंड्री ऑफ द स्टेट. दिस इज शुड अंडरस्टैंड. तो हम भी यूएस में अगर ह्यूमन राइट वायलेशन होता है हम भी बोल सकते हैं. सिर्फ यूएस नहीं, हमारे लिए बोल सकते हैं. This you will come to know. This is how you have human rights declaration, because it is called universal declaration of human rights. The human rights are universal in nature. It is not bound by a territory of a country, let's say that. So this is how you'll find out that there are some factors. That way, just I will summarize in 2-3 lines. Let's write. Even if sovereignty is about an independence of a state, to make any law, but because of globalization, there is greater interdependence. Among nation states, which to some extent has affected sovereignty of a state. Sovereignty of a state, as it has created to some extent external obligation. So that is what we can say. The sovereign, then let's say socialist. See, socialist and secular we will deal separately. Yes. And secular will take one class almost. We talk secularism. This is how you should know that. So, socialist here and secular will not explain much. Yes. here, because since we have to teach separately, right? Just few lines you can write. It indicates welfare role of state, in terms of ensuring a decent living standard, ensuring a decent living standard and social order in society. Social order in society. Social order in society. It is manifested through DPSPs. It is manifested through DPSPs. Right? DPSPs. So later on we'll talk. Once court has told, it is about decent living standard. Another time court has told, it is about social order. This is to know that. So there have been definition of term socialism. Indira Gandhi also defined what is socialism for India. It's our country. Court has also defined, because case was challenged, the bank nationalization was challenged, and that is how Cooper case will be talked ordinance. So bank nationalization, in this, while dealing the case, court went on talking about what the term socialism means. So we'll deal separately when we'll talk this. Let's wait. Next is called socialist, secular. It means the state should remain neutral. The state should remain neutral to religion. That is, the state would not have religion. If it supports, it will have to support all religions. It will have to support all religions. It is a liberal democratic value. It is a liberal democratic value. So that is all. We have basically positive secular concept. France has negative secular concept, which will explain you. That's why it was told that how France can learn from India. Basically, when you say secular, so secular in the sense that states shall have no any religion. This the religion means states should remain neutral to religion. That's why even constitution was not adopted in the name of God. Let's say. Now it can favor religions, it can favor, so it will have to favor all. Otherwise, it should remain neutral. This state shall itself not have religion; it should be neutral to religion. That way we can say. So many times you will find that states, and those states they declared themselves as their state religion. You find Israel, Pakistan, you find. So they have a state religion. So that is how we should tell, but when we'll talk separately, so we'll explain it. No need to talk much on this. Let's write democratic. It means there should be a system of election, and government should be elected. Government should be elected. That is, democracy means rule by people. Democracy means rule by people. Rule by people. Since people cannot rule themselves, in bracket, direct democracy, a system of representation has been introduced. System of representation has been introduced with elections. And hence in democracy, governments are elected. The entire polity is about democracy, isn't it? We'll keep knowing about democracy through entire polity, right? And then democratic republic. So last is republic. It means the head of the state should be elected. It means the head of the state should be elected. Since president is indirectly elected, by people. India has republic characteristics. Republic characteristics. UK on the other hand, even if it is democratic, but it is not republic. As its head of the state is not elected. Hence, it is considered as monarchical democratic state. This, so let's say the significance of nature of a state. Nature of a state is that they set limits and also goals that how a state should function, and fulfill the aspirations of people. Aspirations of people. Yes. It means they limit a state from becoming arbitrary. arbitrary. So we don't know whether you are able to understand what we are trying to say or what it is trying to set. The state cannot achieve objectives by any means. The state should achieve objectives only through these means. In a democratic manner, in a republic manner, in a secular manner, and in a socialist manner. Does it mean that when you make any law, even law should be made in a democratic manner? This is should know. This is how it means. Law cannot be made in haste, and law cannot be made in undemocratic manner without taking public opinion into consideration. That is how it sets the limit also, it sets the goal also. Then let's write next objectives, next third point. Objectives of state. In bracket, rights guaranteed to citizens. Rights guaranteed to citizens. Rights guaranteed to citizens. The preamble talks about first justice, which includes social, economic, and political. Social, economic, and political. Its rationale is related to political, social, and economic democracy. Political, social, and economic democracy. Political, social, and economic democracy. Social economic comes from social and economic democracy come from implementation of DPSPs. And political democracy comes from implementation of fundamental rights. It comes from implementation of fundamental rights. Later we'll explain कि इसका significance क्या है. Justice is related to fairness, you know that. When we talk justice, it is related to fairness. Now, justice is, let's see how there can be justice to people. Now, the justice can be there when there is a level playing field. Now, how a state can be fair to all? The state can be fair to all if there is level playing field. This political democracy gives you the right to participate in political process. Yes. But you cannot participate in political process if you do not have social economic well-being. Right. Social economic well-being. There is equity and equality concept. You should know that. Like say कि social economic, let's say कि those people who are socially economically weak, they do not participate in political process. They will not be beneficiary of many things in our democracy. Even civil services you can take. Many people, those who do not have social economic background, good background, so they may not have good educational background. When they do not have good educational background, they cannot compete in open competition, even if it is open competition and fair. This, because political democracy means it gives equal right. Political is related to equality. You get equal right. Everyone can, or any citizen of the country who is eligible in that open competition can appear. But unless those vulnerable sections they study, they would not appear. The society will not be fair. It will not be just. Yes. Like say CAT examination. CAT examination is completely in English medium. It is already privatized. This, because you know that our children are also educated in regional medium. Those who are regional medium, first they will learn would and should. By the time, let's say, age will, isn't it? Anyhow, the comprehension question you cannot solve by learning would and should, isn't it? Grammar. So it is not then just, even if it is open, it is fair, but certain categories of people cannot compete because of their socio-economic condition. We'll explain it one day when we'll take reservation. The difference between, this is how, equality and socio-economic justice. This. Ambedkar also told, that's why DPSPs are important. Even if they are not enforceable, but they are important. This. That is how courts say. It is not a matter of superiority and inferiority. Both are important. Yes. When we say justice, social economic, we have to improve that. We try to, the more we implement DPSPs effectively, the better political democracy we'll have. Yes. The more we implement DPSPs, the better we'll have. If you improve on this, you will take society close to this. That is how we can consider. That is how these are related. So that is how we mean by justice. Then let's like liberty. Liberty. It is related to, it is a bit related to freedom of people, freedom of people to live life of their choice, live life of their choice, including freedom of thought and expression, freedom of thought and expression, expression. It is important in any democracy. It is important in any democracy that people should enjoy freedom of thought and expression, freedom of thought and expression, to speak their mind, to speak their mind, and states should have limited intervention. States should have limited intervention in the life of people, in the life of people. It is promoted through fundamental rights. It is promoted through fundamental rights. Article 19 and 21. Article 19 and 21. So there we'll talk more elaborately, and there we'll talk you the difference also between liberty and freedom. What is difference between 19 and then 21? So let's talk later. Let's say equality. Next is equality. Okay. It is considered as the most important principle in a liberal democracy. liberal democracy, that people must be treated equally and they should have equal rights. They should have equal rights. There should not be any discrimination by state. It is promoted through Article 14 to 18. 14 to 18 of fundamental rights. So again we'll talk there, let's say equality. No need to elaborate much. But you should know that if you have to take a stand between liberty, let's say equality and justice, first it is equality. Yes. Because unless you have equality, other things are secondary. Fairness question comes, justice question comes if both are equal. If both are not equal, so there is no question of fairness. Then it comes. That is how modern democracy, ruled by people, it treats everyone is born free and equal. Otherwise, अभी भी society हमारी जो है equal नहीं समझी है. Oh, society still does not consider us as equal in terms of religion, in terms of caste, in terms of gender, in terms of status. You find how society is divided. Like if still in our houses, we don't consider housemaid as equal to us. This the society will find us equality, let's say, because equality is basis for anything. That's why it is very important. Anyhow, so these are some characters. Then we'll take unity and integrity. Let's say next. Right. Role and objective. We are talking in terms of points. So let's say role and objective of a state. Role and objective of a state. Next, fourth point in terms of first unity and integrity. Unity and integrity. Next, fraternity. Since India faces challenges of stability, order and security. One role of a state is to maintain unity and integrity. Like, since India is a diverse society, that it has different socio-cultural practices. The state should promote fraternity among different sections of society. One day we have been expecting a question on this also. because the areas they have not asked, we expect today or tomorrow. There can be a question, or we should be prepared for that. Unity. Integrity. Let's say that we can have different, let's say, caste, community, religion, region. This. So different, let's say that types of people can be there. Now, basically, we have to interwove. So there should be interweaving of them. How the unity will come? Unity will come. Let's say you have this five. Let's say that fingers. Unity comes if you bring together. That is how unity. Right. So this we have to understand. Unity in diversity. Let's say so. They should be diverse. Individually, they may be diverse, but they should be having a bond. Let's say that. And when we are able to create a bond, it can be considered as unity. And this unity will be promoted by this fraternity. If we are able to promote brotherhood in them, this brotherhood, harmony in them, two different castes, two different religions, two different regions, and if you are able to promote harmony in them, this fraternity, let's say brotherhood that we say in them. So basically that the two different regions can become, let's say that a force because of bond rather than let's say threat. That's how they are interrelated. They are interrelated. How you understand this? Then integrity, then I will tell you how they are related. Integrity, if you take, integrity has two things. One is physical, another is moral. Integrity also has two meanings. One is physical, that is territory. And second is moral, that is इंटीग्रिटी जो मतलब होता है that what is the name of ethics paper? Ethics, integrity and aptitude. तो वहां का इंटीग्रिटी का क्या मतलब है? तो जो वहां पे इंटीग्रिटी का मतलब है वही यहाँ पे मतलब है. Integrity means you should be loyal to your country. Moral aspect. Every citizen should be loyal to his or her country. And let's say that he should not do any such act which may threaten country. Right? It's unity and integrity. Yes. So that is what moral aspect. Territorial aspect, government should protect territory of the country. Territorial aspect. Those our dispute with China, dispute with Pakistan, you know that. And we say that China, let's say, There is saying कि चाइना ने हमारा कुछ लैंड एक्वायर कर लिया है फिर से, लद्दाख कुछ रिपोर्ट चल रहा है किसी आई गेस द वायर और द प्रिंट किसी ने उसको रिपोर्ट किया है कि लद्दाख आल्सो चाइना है. So what we are trying to say is integrity means you state should be able to protect its territory, defend its territory. That is physical aspect. And both are interconnected. Right. देखो जब तक unless people of our country they do not support any foreign power, do not have, let's say, vested interest, directly or indirectly, no any country can threaten your integrity. बताइए कैसे होता है? Let's say पठानकोट अटैक कैसे होता है? So they bribed some locals. Some locals were bribed. This basically integrity. Many a time you'll find that people have been caught espionaging and let's say that this doing this act and that act. Basically, when we say that integrity means so citizens, each and every citizen should be loyal to country. You can compromise whatever in day-to-day life, but you should not compromise integrity of country. That is how moral aspect. Now, how they are related, unity, integrity, and fraternity. To think what are the sources of threats to our country, how we face threats to our country. तो मणिपुर में क्या हो रहा है? That ethnic conflict. क्यों हो रहा है ethnic conflict? Right. So basically, two tribes, you are not able to promote harmony and brotherhood. Yes. Similarly, you can find many such things in our society which threaten our own unity and integrity because of this or that aspect. Let's say Naxalism. Why Naxalism threatens our security? Because socio-economic rights of people. Jal, Jangal, Jameen. Since we are not able to guarantee them, secure them, their Jal, Jangal, Jameen, hence the socio-economic, let's say, problems have resulted into a movement, and a movement has become now a complex system, you know that, which threatens our security. How communal riots happen? Right. You know that how it happens. Right. And nowadays you know that it has been rigged up in such a way that हर आदमी को हर आदमी से लड़ा दिया है. Sorry to say that. हर जगह मतलब बिल्कुल एक तरह से conflicts चल रहा है. This, and you know now, so far I used to think Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh they are peaceful state. I used to give example कि आप डिस्ट्रिक्ट बाय स्टेट हो तो आराम से जाके ऋषिकेश में आप एंजॉय कर सकते हो स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ. But now recently you know that what is happening in those peaceful states. This did not have any history of communal, let's say that riots and violence in France. Ultimately, what will happen? You are allowing your own house to be robbed, your own house to be destroyed in the name of caste, religion, etc. This फैमिली में अगर दो लोग फाइट करते हैं तो बाहर जो नेबर्स वाले लोग हैं वो तो हंसेंगे ही. Yes. The same thing there inside the country you are fighting among themselves. It's not about laughing, let's say. So you have to understand this. So whether such developments strengthen the fabric of society or weaken the fabric of society. It weakens the fabric of society. And when fabric of society is weakened, you know what can happen? Right. Unity and integrity is threatened. So unity and integrity is not threatened by only external forces. War hone wala hai and China and India war. Inside the country itself also how people live together. Now you can understand how. You can understand by this. No country in the world has threats like India. Big country. India is the only country in the world which has more internal threats. External threats is there, but it has more internal threats. अभी तक settle नहीं हुआ हमारा internal problems. Right. This it means that we are not able to solve our internal problems. All major countries have addressed their internal problems. Right. अब आप बोलोगे चाइना में भी है. Right. So we are not talking, let's say, that China. In fact, let's say if it is a monarchical state, there can be exception also. What we are saying is, if you take US, it does not have internal threats. Rather, it threatens other countries. Yes. Since there is a peace at home, generally I say sarcastically, US government US के लिए तो बनाया ही नहीं जाता है. This it is a government of world to govern the world, not America. इसलिए अमेरिका को तो गवर्न ही नहीं करना है. People govern themselves. Because it does not have any issue. This you should know. Why it does not have any issue? Social fabric. Yes. Its social fabric is strong. Even if there is a black and white, let's say, rift, but it is not to an extent कि जैसे मणिपुर में हो रहा है. यस अब ये तो और भी कॉम्प्लेक्स हो गया है. हमें लग रहा था कि अब तो सॉल्व हो गया मैटर, बट ये तो और भी कॉम्प्लेक्स हो गया. अब वो ऑस्ट्रेलिया और कनाडा में हो गया. इधर है तो एक उधर है. दिस सो इट इज क्वाइट चैलेंजिंग. So basically, you have to understand how you treat your people inside the country. That's why we the people we were saying. And a state should respect each and every person, sect, caste, religion, because they will make strength. They will create strength to your country. That's why strength lies in diversity, and unity comes from diversity. This and both are important. If you lose unity, then diversity is threatened. And if you, let's say, threaten diversity, unity is threatened. There is a complement relationship. Both are important, which later you will understand. We'll talk federal polity, and we have a layers of identity, local, state, and national. And we need to identify, we need to respect that. That is how, let's say, the three are interrelated. And that is how the significance you should know. So ultimately, a state can, all major countries, I say US, it does not have threats. It does not have threats from inside. Saudi Arabia, it does not have threats from inside. And European countries, they don't have threats from inside. China can have, but this is how one aspect it can be. Otherwise, it does not have. Japan does not have. We can be the only major country which you have threats from all the corners of the society. Jammu and Kashmir, Northeast, you can consider. And then also, let's say, like Khalistan movement, then Naxalism, plus communal riots across the country. Yes. So, an intelligent state is one which tries to address all these problems, even at the cost of giving autonomy to people. Let people be given some of their autonomy. This is how. You give them a bit of autonomy, let's say. And that way, let's say that they will have more and more harmony, let's say that. There will be more brotherhood if their autonomy is also respected. Means if their culture is also respected, they will have harmony. What has happened is that in our society, we have treated something like absolutist type. When we have treated something absolutist type, that has created a problem. What is absolutist type? So you want tribal people to always remain tribal? Or they think that they should always remain tribal? No. Basically, tomorrow you should get men integrated with mainstream. Do you want always to be protected as tribal? मतलब हाथ में एप्पल का फोन है और then he wants to be a tribal. बैम्बू वाला फोन होना चाहिए ना. This, sorry to say that, with due respect. मीन्स जैसे आपका मान लो फोर फादर, जैसे मान लो इफ यू गो टू द पास्ट 5 जनरेशन तो पता नहीं चलेगा 6 जनरेशन एंड यू हैव इवॉल्व इन दिस वे. सो बेसिकली दे शुड ऑल्सो इवॉल्व, राइट? देन देर विल बी, लेट्स से दैट, लेस डिफरेंस. But on the one hand, you are becoming more, let's say that, cosmopolitan, and you see that others are trying to maintain that distinct identity. It becomes source of conflict. Yes, that you are being given unnecessary privilege. Hey, this. So that way we can say, and a culture will not have status quo. मतलब यहाँ पे मान लो status quo कैसे हो सकता है? Since things are changing, you have LGBT rights, you have live-in concept, other things are changing, let's say that. The society is changing, becoming modern, becoming ultra-modern also. And then you want to, in terms of your rights, let's say, you want to just be recognized in that way. That becomes basis for conflicts. Yes. You should have protection of rights, but don't tell that you should always be protected. This, and it is the duty of the state to nurture in that way. But state क्या करता है? Promise कर देता है पॉलिटिक्स के नाम पे. जैसे उधर लद्दाख को बोला कि हम देंगे शेड्यूल 7 का स्टेटस, शेड्यूल 6 का स्टेटस. तो जब पॉलिटिक्स था तो प्रॉमिस कर दिया, अब वो धरने पे बैठ गए कि हमें चाहिए शेड्यूल 6, आप ही ने बोला था. अब वो प्रॉब्लम है. एक तो प्रॉब्लम वहां पे है शेड्यूल 5 शेड्यूल 6 के. यू वांट टू क्रिएट अगेन लद्दाख, एंड दे से दैट दे शुड बी गिवन. वो स्ट्राइक पे चल रहे हैं. सो वंस सोनम वांगचुक वाज द हीरो, यू कैन से दैट. नाउ ही हैज बिकम a leader of the strike movement, demanding that he give us Ladakh also the Schedule 6 status. Basically, this is how it happens. Now, Schedule 6 means they will be given protection. So, आपका development activities, right, affect होगा. Plus, let's say that yes, you need to protect Ladakh. It's, let's say, ecological aspects, ecosystem. But at the same time, let's say we should not, let's say that, create such things which results into rigidity and conflict. This, because others will also start demanding the same thing. What simply I am trying to say is, see, in some cases we cannot be status quo. In some cases we cannot be so rapidly changing. People should also change. Those who are tribal people, क्या हमेशा जल जंगल जमीन ही रहेगा वहां पर? आप नहीं चाहते कि वहां पे कोई लेट्स से कि एयरपोर्ट बने, isn't it? आप नहीं चाहते हो कि आपके यहाँ भी मान लो कोई IIT ओपन हो. हमेशा आप फॉरेस्ट में ही रहोगे क्या? Miss, will you maintain always the same culture? Upcoming generation? Not necessarily. You should not be rigid. Yes, you should be rigid to your rights. The state should guarantee their rights, not threaten. Right. Livelihood security. They have threatened, means threats that the state will take away all these things. The state should, but at the same time, gradually we should try to bring mainstream. Right. Same thing related to others aspects. What simply we are trying to say, unless you respect diversity, there will not be unity. This is it. And unity should not be imposed. It should be influenced. This is how. Like at times government, Hindi, let's say that. At times government says and sends, let's say, especially Tamil Nadu registers, you know that. Hindi mein likho. There is something, let's say that, in government offices, there is emphasis that you have to write in Hindi. Yes. Or at times, let's say Hindi, happens in Tamil Nadu, so Tamil Nadu starts resisting. So adoption of Hindi, you can say. Similarly, let's say you have one nation, one type of things coming nowadays. This idea. So somehow it is being said, or they say that it is being imposed. Yes. So how we can do that? We can encourage people, influence people, because our country is very different. You know that it is very different, and cultural roots, if you find, like southern states have their cultural roots, and they have continued those things. That still they make their movies in their own local language. It can be Tamil, it can be Malayalam, it can be Telugu. This you can consider. It is part. It gives you strength. जब उनका movie success हो रहा है तो we are appreciating. this it shows somehow your diversity. Diversity gives you strength. It has not threatened your strength. This. So that is how we can learn it. And that is how you should know about the relationship between unity, integrity, and fraternity. This. So that we can say. Few lines you can write on this. Okay. All the three terms are interrelated. All the three terms are interrelated. That since India has high level of diversity, it can be both strength as well as weakness. It can be both strength and weakness. Weakness when diversity is not respected. Strength when there is harmony between different caste community, different castes, communities, religion, and regions. India still struggles for maintaining unity and integrity. One can observe how there are first social and communal tensions. Second, regional conflicts. Next, nationalism, insurgency, and violence. Yes. For instance, the recent ongoing violence in Manipur. It is also due to transitional nature of society. On the one hand, and on the other. It is also due to transitional nature of society on the one hand, and on the other. State weaknesses due to politics, due to politics, to address challenges of unity and integrity. To address challenges of unity and integrity. That is how we can say. Rest of knowledge will help you answering if at all a question is asked. This issue. It is ongoing things in knowledge. And the fifth one we'll talk is date of commencement of Constitution. Date of commencement of Constitution. Date of commencement of Constitution and adopted in the name of people. Adopted in the name of people. First, date is important. Date is important as it gives clarity about when Constitution was adopted. Constitution was adopted. Since Constitution is supreme law of the land. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Second, it is adopted in the name of the people. It is adopted in the name of the people. It means it's people's constitution. It's people's constitution. Constitution. And people are ultimate authority. People are ultimate authority behind Constitution. Behind Constitution. Constitution. That is what we can say about some explanations related to this. Then we'll take one by one legal aspects, let's say. Legal aspects. Legal aspects. Let's say. So let's say in Berubari Union case, Supreme Court opined that the preamble was not part of the Constitution. The preamble was not part of the Constitution. Part of the Constitution. Keshwan and the Bharti case. In Keshwan and the Bharti case, Supreme Court first rejected Berubari Union view. Rejected Berubari Union view by saying that preamble was part of Constitution. Preamble was part of Constitution. Next, it also stated that it was not source of power for the government. it was not source of power for the government. Source of power for the government, although it was important part of constitution. Part of constitution. Next. Preamble could be amended. Save its basic structure. Save its basic structure. It is a language in polity to write. Save its basic structure, you know that, except basic structure. What is basic structure? We'll talk when we'll take Yeshwaranda Bharati case. Right? Basically, let's say basic intent of preamble, which is underlined, that cannot be amended. What is basic in, let's say that. Now secular is considered as basic structure. Whether government can remove secular, if government removes secular, so then it can be legally challenged. And when it will be legally challenged, the court will try to see whether by removing term secular, it affects basic structure of constitution or not. Merely removing the term secular will not affect the secular aspect of constitution. Right. To become secular, you don't need to just mention the term secular in the constitution. Right. So we'll talk its significance. So now what we come to know, preamble can be amended. It is part of the constitution. And it is not source of power for the government. Why it is not source of the power for the government? Because it is an introduction. Preamble is an introductory part. So when it is an introductory part, it just gives aims and ideals to the state or aims and ideals of the government. Powers, whatever the government derive, those powers will be defined in different provisions of the constitution. Like say powers related to federal aspects, Schedule 7, that will become basis. This government, let's say the government, whether it can issue ordinance making power, it will be decided by Article 123, not by preamble. Since powers are, let's say that here and there defined, hence preamble is a generic, let's say that aspect. It is a generic, let's say that ideal. So it cannot be considered it is a source of power. That is how we address those legal aspects, right, of preamble. So is it clear on legal aspects? Right. So then we'll talk next. Next is called significance of preamble. Significance of preamble. First, it sets aims and ideals of the state. It sets aims and ideals of the state in terms of means and ends. In terms of means and ends. Next, it guarantees rights to citizens. It guarantees rights to citizens. Justice, liberty and equality. Liberty and equality. Next, it gives clarity. It gives clarity related to within that. First, whether it is source of powers. Whether it is source of powers. Powers for the government. Next, whether Parliament can amend whether Parliament can amend. Next separate point. It helps in interpretation of Constitution. It helps in interpretation of Constitution by judiciary. That wherever provisions of the Constitution are vague, the Supreme Court can take into consideration. Preamble for interpretation. Next, they represent, their values represent moral and ethical standards for governance, that they can be considered code of ethics for administration, or philosophical foundation for governance. Criticism. It is criticized due to lack of achievement of ideals of preamble. It is found that in actual practice, first, people are not ultimate authority. Rather, it is government. And its institutions. Next, people suffer from lack of resources, livelihood, and they have been subject to exploitation, discrimination. Next, there is arbitrary exercise of powers. Hence, there are challenges faced by the state. To implement aims and ideals, and guarantee justice, liberty, and equality. basically just to want to show that it's not that we have not achieved. If you take that the status of our society during 1950s, so it may be a certain status it may have. If you take today's status of the society, so certainly it has improved. It has improved. We are better society, better than what we were in 1950s. We are resourceful. There is a greater level of equity, equality, you can say that. Justice, you can say that. So governments have taken lots of initiatives also, which we'll talk when we take DPSP, not here. Just we wanted to say some negative aspects also of preamble. On the one hand, you talk with lots of ideals. If you talk to common people, they will laugh at you. This is how I say generally. This, if you talk that कि preamble हमारा ये बात करता है, constitution ये बात करता है. Even आप constitution का भी नाम लोगे तो लोग हंसने लगेंगे. बस. और अगर आपको सही उसका मायने जानना है तो आप प्रिजन में जाके लोगों से बात कीजिए, तो आपको वो बताएंगे. ठीक है, लॉ का एक्चुअल मतलब क्या होता है. हो सकता है किसी ने कुछ स्मॉल क्राइम किया होगा, छोटा सा क्राइम, वो 10 साल से जेल में है, और कोई बहुत बड़ा क्राइम किया है, 10 मर्डर किया है, वो आपका लॉ मेकर है. ठीक है, छोटा सा जो क्राइम किया है वो जेल में है, और जो बहुत बड़ा क्राइम किया है वो उसका बाप बना हुआ है. सॉरी टू से दैट, मतलब वो लॉ मेकर है. दिस, so that is how you'll find this paradox, right? This, and you know that there are many people in that category. 43% members of parliament have criminal background, and in that 29% have very serious background, murder also. चल ही रहा है आपका एक साहब जो है, नो ब्रिज के भूषण जो है, आपको पता है. So the question is that he has several cases. तो कोई भाई sacrosanct person तो है नहीं. But let's say that कि police cannot touch him. Yes. जस्टिस क्या है, लॉ क्या है, वो उनसे पूछो जो सफर किया है, वो आपको बताएंगे कि जस्टिस का मतलब क्या होता है. Which by say in a more let's say कि बाहर की जस्टिस क्या है, वो कोर्ट के गलियारों में पता चलता है. कि कैसे गवाह खरीदे जाते हैं और बेचे जाते हैं. Yes. So that is how the challenge, let's say. We will not say we have not improved. By this we are saying we have improved, suppose. But still ideals are huge. And then there is still gap in the society. Yes. And that is how states should further bridge it. This gap. वो तो गुजरात में भी चेंज करके, वो पता ही है आपको कि बिल्किस बानो केस. दे आर गुड हिंदूज, दिस इज हाउ दे से. तो गुड टेररिस्ट तो सुना था हमने. यस, दैट इज हाउ द चैलेंज है. तो जस्टिस क्या है आपको पता चलता है जब आप उसको फेस करते हैं. That is how, let's say, in reality, let's say, why they are being released, why Bihar government has released, the political benefits, and who can stop? Who can stop? Yes. Many a time might is right. मोनार्क्स ने सारा लॉ अपने फेवर में बनाया, इसीलिए डेमोक्रेसी आया उसको रिजेक्ट करने के लिए. ऐसे समझो. डेमोक्रेसी केम टू रिजेक्ट बिकॉज पीपल विल हैव से. और चूंकि लोग इतने स्ट्रांग नहीं हुए, तो मोनार्क स्टिल is reflected through government. When they go on case by case, bringing and amending changes, let's say that, amending, let's say, their key laws. So since he is a powerful person, you can forgive that person. अब बोला जाएगा कि आपको अगर प्रॉब्लम है तो कोर्ट जाइए. ये बहुत गलत तरीका है. तो उसको आप एक थप्पड़ जोर से मारिए और बोलिए कि तुमको प्रॉब्लम है तो कोर्ट जाओ. फिर पता चलेगा, isn't it? ये सही तरीका नहीं है जस्टिस देने का कि अगर प्रॉब्लम है तो आजकल बोलने लगे हैं लोग, सरकार बोलने लगे है, गवर्नमेंट्स बोलने लगे, आपको प्रॉब्लम है तो कोर्ट जाइए. तो ठीक है, एक थप्पड़ मारो, बोलो तुम्हें प्रॉब्लम है, कोर्ट जाओ. सॉरी टू से दैट. भाई आपको इलेक्ट किया गया है किस लिए? वी हैव इलेक्टेड यू टू सॉल्व आवर प्रॉब्लम. वी हैव नॉट इलेक्टेड जुडिशरी टू सॉल्व आवर प्रॉब्लम. यू कैन नॉट टेल दिस. बट लोग हमारे यहाँ, इसीलिए एजुकेशन इंपॉर्टेंट है. जब लोग जागरूक होंगे, एजुकेशन होगा, तो फिर जाकर के मान लो कि ऐसे नहीं बोल सकते. इट इज ए ग्रेजुअल प्रोसेस. This is how another, let's say, conspiracy. Government will not let you become educated. Education पे कोई फोकस नहीं होता है, पता है आपको. जो कुछ लोग एजुकेटेड है वो बाकी लोग चले जाते हैं यूएस. अभी तो हमारे 6,500 मिलियनेयर्स आर लिविंग आवर कंट्री. एक रिपोर्ट के हिसाब से इस साल 6,500 millionaires are living this country this year, according to a report. Where they are going? US, Australia, UAE. Yes. Yes. That is how later on you will realize gradually this governments, since education you do not improve, few class of citizens you have where we try to promote education. It is still very narrow. In reservation topic will tell you in more details all these things. Right. Anyhow, so just to know this, so what we have told the last point, conclude it. Next. This is, what is the last point? Yes, let's say that. Although there is improvement, in fulfilling such ideals, however, still there is huge gap between the promises made under Constitution and their actual realization. Promises made under Constitution and their actual realization. And that is how we finish on this side, right? So then we'll talk separate, let's say, socialist. Right. Socialist. Governance. I added in this itself, but let's write, if you have not written term socialist, let's say the preamble and governance. The preamble and governance. Governance has assumed significance. since 1990s, with an aim to improve, ability of a state, to solve the problems of society. Ability of a state to solve the problems of society. It is a collective way to solve problems. The preamble determines structure, process. The preamble determines structure, process, role and functions of government in fulfillment of aspirations of people. Hence, the ideals of preamble guide governance and intend to promote good governance. So that way it can be related. Further, since governance you do not know much, so we cannot elaborate it at this stage. When you will know governance, you will be able to relate it. Some of its aspect we have added in while teaching itself, this significance part. So when we talk governance, how it is, see, basically governance intends to enhance the ability of a state to solve the problems. When governance enhances the ability of a state to solve the problem, so then a state is more capable in solving the problem, so a state will be more closer to achieve those ideals. Yes. So that way preamble is related to now governance. Since today we talk more also on governance, not on government. When constitution was adopted, so then the idea was these ideals would be achieved by the state. But 90s onwards, it is now state is becoming more like governance type. It is not only state, rather public, private, civil society together. So what government was supposed to achieve the objectives, now we are trying to achieve together. This and that together aspect is more effective than what it used to be in the first 4 decades. Right. Therefore, governance also it is guided by the ideals, but at the same time, governance has the potential to deliver those ideals more effectively than what government used to be. Yes. So that way we can relate. Then we'll take term socialist. So there is no one meaning. We should know. Term socialist. This. It can have different meanings. So it is defined in Indian context. This is how we can say this. Basically, if you take, we have DPSPs, Article 28, sorry, Article 38, 39. So they deal with such things. 38 is about social order. So what is social order? Social order is nothing but, let's say, elimination of any sort of inequality and inequity in the society. Yes. There will be a level playing field in society. This 39B and C, if you see, you find it is related. So again, it is inequality, concentration of wealth, redistribution of wealth, redistributive justice. So basically, let's keep when the context, if you talk, although we'll talk this. So courts also went and defining decent living standard. So whether people have decent living standard in society. So generally, those who are vulnerable, weaker section, they don't have this decent living standard. The state has to ensure establishment of a social orders. These things can be considered. It also indicates basically that the state should play a major role. And socialist, if you take, so it means that its state should play major role this in elimination of this. So when let's say that is socialist, the socialist can be, let's say, Marxian type also. We have Marxian type, or we say as also communist type. It can be also Gandhian type. And then it is Indian type. So if you see, let's say this market type means basically it is about how to bring development, how a state should be organized. So when we talk that how a state should be organized, and when we talk about this, so there are different, let's say, theories behind that. Basically, they are political theories, and we have liberal, let's say that capitalist model. Then we have socialist model. In capitalist model, let's say that welfare is through market. So entire world, this is especially Western countries, they were capitalist society. And they, let's say that they have developed themselves through capitalist society, capitalist pattern, a liberal pattern. Counter to that is socialist. And socialist wants that all the means of production would be in the hand of the government. State will control all the means of production, means all resources should be controlled by state. And it is the state which will distribute resource as per the needs of the people. That who has which type of needs. Accordingly, resource will be distributed. So there will also be resource concentration, but it is in the hand of state, and it is the state which will promote welfare. That is socialist or communist type will find. Then let's say that if you talk Mahatma Gandhi, so he had a different concept. He says that there should be more of self-governance, village republic. People should govern themselves through village republic. This small scale industry. He was against big scale industry. And the small scale industry will labor intensive type, it will create self-reliance. His development model is different. We follow Fabian philosophy, let's say, Fabian type of, let's say that the welfare model. Fabian model is that you should have dominant role of state. States should play its dominant role, and wherever possible, market should also be allowed. Yes. It was also clarified by Indira Gandhi. Basically, there was a doubt. The context of, let's say, socialist added in the constitution. The context of secular also added in the constitution. So, you can see 1970s. Banks were nationalized in 1969, you know that. And it was challenged in the court. So, when banks were nationalized, then there was apprehension in market, private sector, that whether government is going to, let's say, acquire all those private, let's say, sectors. Whether we are moving towards Marxian model. So therefore, to clear this apprehension, Indira Gandhi clarified that India had a different type of socialism. Indian socialism is state will enter wherever it is necessary, and market would be allowed where it is necessary. Hence, government did not intend to own all the private property. That is how her clarity. To further give confidence, let's say that, make it clear, this socialist term was added in the constitution. Right. So that the government, let's say, basically government wanted to show a strong resolve to people regarding welfare. The government also started 20-point program known as Poverty Alleviation Program Garibi Hatao, which popularly came to be known as Garibi Hatao, which I add in that also Garibi Hatao means Garibo ko hatao. So that is how, let's say, it started. Yes. The government basically wanted to show to people it is very serious to address your poverty problems. This just populism resulted into adding the term socialist. But it also gave clarity that we did not intend to acquire all private property. That was the basically context of term socialist. Yes. Therefore, socialist in our country is different from socialist what it is considered in terms of Marxian type of socialism. Hence, it was expected that the state should play a dominant role. This The state should play a dominant role at this. That is how we have written this. That what we can say this. So when we have added this, so whether it results into, let's say this, whether socialist nature of a state has undergone changes. Before, let's say that we should tell, is it important? Can we say that India became socialist only when it was added in the preamble? No, it was added in 42nd Amendment. Or context will write. so it is not important. You know that already we were socialist. Right? We were already socialist. Our all political parties are socialist, be it left, right, or centrist. Why? Because of Indian philosophy. Our Indian philosophy is a welfareist philosophy. Yes, we talk in Mahabharata, you talk, Kautilya, you talk, Shanti Parva, you talk. All will talk about welfare of society. Plus, leaders during 1930s and 40s all became socialist. Subhash Chandra Bose, Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, and system of planning, that's why it was adopted. The system of planning is a socialist in USSR influence. Then you know that Industrial Policy Resolution 1956. This Industrial Policy Resolution was a socialist model which was continued till 1991. 1991 policy rejected it. The Avadi session of Indian National Congress, it is said that at Avadi session of Indian National Congress, the socialist ideals were defined. Yes. And finally, let's say you have already constitution in which fundamental rights, this socialist type, and then DPSPs as socialist type. Then why it was added and others. So let's conclude tomorrow. We'll finish here, right? Let's take it tomorrow. Tomorrow also we take secular aspect. The secular where you should read, whatever the source you have, you read secular. This. Let's take tomorrow.